Yeah, here we go. We're live here on LinkedIn and Facebook. I have Dan Fine with us today. Dan, welcome.
Hey.
I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna do something a little bit different. I'm gonna
Okay.
just, instead of doing like a big intro, you got a pretty long history, so maybe we'll just start in with tell a little bit about yourself, and I think we're gonna talk about kind of where you've come from, where you're going to. We're gonna get into last, but it's gonna talk about you're getting into the crypto coaching piece. We had a really good discussion on NFTs and all this before we started here, so I do want to dive into that. But just start with telling the group about yourself.
Yeah, Peter, good to meet you. A Canadian, and I'm actually kind of a new Canadian. I've been up here maybe almost 5 years. So during the last election cycle, I decided to get out of Seattle, get out of the U.S., and come to Canada. But, kind of a quick story. I'm a Detroit boy, so not too far away from you, where I grew up on 8 Mile. I don't know if you saw that movie with Eminem, but that's when the neighborhood was good, when he shot that movie. But I grew up kind of near the housing projects, not a great neighborhood, not a great education. Actually went to college to learn reading and writing because it was, I felt deficient in that area. So I ended up an English major and thought I was going to start as a high school teacher. Did that for about 6 months. And I got laid off in the recession. I think it was the Reagan recession at that time. And ended up moving to New York City to learn advertising, and literally walked up and down Madison Avenue, Park Avenue, 3rd Avenue, looking for a job. And went up in the elevators, found the ad agency, applied, started as a secretary, and then kind of grew into some really great ad agencies and learned advertising marketing. Advertising is kind of a genetic defect in my family. My dad retired from it and did advertising for Toyota at a place called Saatchi & Saatchi. And then my brother also retired as a advertising marketing guy, mostly for fragrances. And then decided to move to Seattle to raise a family because Seattle at that point was in a great spot. I love the outdoors. I didn't have any of that in Detroit, right? I mean, I didn't ever hike or backpack or do anything outside. So it was really fun to get out to Seattle, explore nature. And I started my own ad agency then. But when I did it, I've always learned about the USP, USP, unique selling proposition. So what is it that's your USP? And back then, when I started my ad agency, it was in the 80s, going back, because I got married in 87. So it was in the 80s. And we bought Mac computers and became kind of the first agency to use computers to produce our advertising. So back then you used to go to send out your ads to a camera shop and cut with an X-Acto knife and build it on, do camera work to make ads or brochures. But they had just introduced Aldus PageMaker. So we started using that, and we started using computers for bookkeeping, as well as I built my own database on Arbase to do contact management. It was kind of the first CRM. It was a CRM for us. It wasn't the first CRM. And that really helped us propel. And then in 94, I got introduced to a guy, the same guy that introduced the founder of Alibaba to the World Wide Web. So this is 1994. There weren't any books on it, so I taught myself how to do HTML and build websites and how to connect to modems and the internet and how to do hosting and then e-commerce. And I was happened to be at the right place at the right time. Sitting near Microsoft, we built the first website using Microsoft technology. And Gates and his team had heard about that, so we ended up building 50 sites for Microsoft, websites for Microsoft. Then they started introducing us to their clients. So we ended up building websites for NASDAQ and GE and Marriott and 20th Century Fox. And then we ended up doing a partnership with Mitsui and opening up an office in Tokyo, which was a great experience for me. I'm a Detroit boy going to Tokyo and trying to figure my way around on the Japan Railroad. And then we also bought one in London. So we had 6 offices. I was fortunate enough to take that company public in 1997 on NASDAQ. And then we sold it to another public company in 99. And then after that, I started a company that was focused on intelligent software agents. And we actually built bots, as you call them, right? And so we built a platform for bots, got a patent on it, and we used an office in Poland, because Poland's great at distributed technology. They grew up under communism. They know bots really well. And actually, our CTO was a professor of the same school Copernicus graduated from. And then that company really didn't go anywhere because it was we had a huge recession and meltdown in technology, so no one was thinking about, bots at that time. And so that was the year 2000. Then I got into ERP and CRM and built a company around that. And then about 5 years ago, I sold that to a Canadian company, and I moved up here and I've been working for them. And at the end of the year, I'm going to retire from that company. And I've been recently getting into crypto and blockchain. And it just fascinates me, like the web fascinated me. So learning a lot about that and just experimenting and continuing to dive deep into that rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's cool. We're going to definitely get into the crypto piece for sure, because I think that's definitely top of mind for many people. I just want to go back to almost the beginning, right, in terms of maybe your upbringing. I just comparing contrast to me, where I grew up in a nice suburban neighborhood just outside Toronto, and I had a really defined, to get a university degree, get a job at a big corporation, and kind of follow along that. You didn't have a straight path to what you did, right? It was really almost undefined. And do you think that maybe helped you in terms of where you're going, like not having those? It looks like you used a lot of imagination, and there was not the same obstacles that maybe some people build up in their minds that are there.
Peter, what I think is, I think my superpower or my strength is, I just put my head down and I keep plowing forward, and I don't know anything but that. I'm like a bulldozer, right? And I just refuse to accept failure. And I have failed, and and it's hard for me to accept it, but I just keep pushing forward and I notice that I go much further than most people will go, which is a problem with hiking, by the way, because you should have a turnaround point, and you can't just keep going because it could be dangerous. So you need to say, hey, I got a turnaround point. When we hit this point, I got to turn around and come back, whether I've hit my goal or not. But in business, I have always just put my head down and just kept going forward and forward and forward. And the other thing I think that's key that I've learned in business is that the way you treat people. So it's not about you, it's about them, and what can I do to help them. So and whether there's a return in it or not for you. Typically, it's usually ends up like magic, because sometime 10 years down the road, if you've done something for someone, it'll come back at you and you're like, wow, that's amazing. I never expected that. But if you just live life as, treat people like people and not like objects, and you just go for your goal, it just tends to work out. Yeah, so I've had to use a lot of, I get an idea and then I just go at it and I don't stop.
Yeah, and when you went through, there's just these different businesses. How much involved was collaboration as part of that process? You said it comes back in maybe not now, but later on. How often were you going in together with others to build something?
Yeah, I've learned not to do that. I am not a good partner. So because I get an idea in my head and I'm like a dog with a bone or a ball, I can't relent, I can't stop, I can't give in. So I have found that I make a really crappy partner, but I make a really good CEO. So, and what I've also learned from that though is, okay, I want to be the one calling the shots. And this all sounds terrible, but I want to be the one calling the shots and making the final decision. But later in my CEO life, I've run 6 companies. I learned to let go and not micromanage. And you hire great managers and you say to them, here are your goals. I don't care how you reach those goals. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. If you want, I'll help you, right? If you need help, but these are your goals. Go get them and just do it ethically and morally, and we're fine. And people tend to find their own path. And if you empower people to do that, they'll do 10 times what you could do on your own. And it took years, so many years for me to learn that hard lesson, because I always thought I knew better than anyone how to do their job. And so I would always micromanage or get upset if they didn't do it the way I wanted them to do it. And eventually I learned, no, that is the dumbest thing in the world. Just give them the goal and let them go figure it out. And they will, they're usually much better and much more talented and educated on it than you are. And so anyways, I've not been good at partnerships or, collaborating unless it's in an environment where I have a team that I'm working with.
Yeah, no, I think that is a form of collaboration in a way too, right? But that is such a great point you leave in terms of leaving a gap or space for people for their growth, right? If you predefine what it looks like, you're going to get maybe what you want, but there's going to be something missing. You created something greater by leaving that space.
It was really astounding when we did that. I mean, and by the way, I was able to take my first vacation, like a real vacation, without taking my laptop or my cell phone or being on it every day. When you have people that are, empowered and they have goals and they're doing their own work and they're on their own doing it, you can go away. The place doesn't, revolve around you. I remember years ago, back in the .com days, I got invited to some meeting with some guy down in Pioneer Square in Seattle, and my CFO and I walked in, and he was showing us the conference rooms, and they were all like the names of the planets, and they were arranged around his office where he was the sun. And it almost made me puke. But this guy was such a micromanager, and everything, he had to be involved and do everything. And I realized, that's not the way I want to be.
No, I think it's just overall, I think it's if you're thinking long, it's definitely not sustainable for anybody, for that matter.
Yeah. The other thing I found was that you want to find people's strengths. And so, you kind of have to get the right people on the bus, right? And then you have to put them in the right seats. And so you find where people are really strong and you focus on their strengths and you don't focus on their weaknesses. So you find people that can do those things that need to be done where they're not good. I'll give you a quick example. We had a finance director, and receivables were getting a little bit out of whack. And, we sat down and we were talking about it. And it turns out that she just, it would turn her stomach. She would lose sleep about making collection calls. She hated it. And we were talking about it, and we had an open office, and the marketing director was like, I don't mind doing that. I'll do it for her. Really? Okay. And then our collections went like all back down to, within 30 days, because this woman had no problem picking up the phone and saying, hey, where's your payment? Whereas the other one, it just drained her. So it allowed the finance director to go do what she was really good at, and the marketing director to pick up a weakness. So you get the right people on the bus, get them focused on what they're really good at and what they want to do, and they'll deliver.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've really been focusing on the last number of months myself, is focusing on tasks. Still, you want to get that objective, that goal, but not everything is necessarily energizing, and maybe I'm not the right person to do those. But that's a form of collaboration, I guess I would say, for myself, is finding the right person to work with who may want to do something that I don't want to do. It may energize them, definitely doesn't mean. I think it just creates things like procrastination. Just
Absolutely.
doesn't get done, right?
That's right. Yeah. And you want to get a well-oiled machine and moving forward. And if people don't want to do things because they're not good at them or they don't like them, they're just going to procrastinate and never do it. And I'm the same way. There's certain things I hate doing, and so I would just put it off until I finally had to get it done.
Right.
And by that time I've already broken it so bad. So, if you just focus on what drives you, you're going to do much better.
So what drives you now? You've had lots of success. You've had publicly traded companies. You've created all the, one of the original .com companies, all these things. What keeps you going now? And maybe this will dive into what you are getting into now, but what do you look to get out? What makes a success for you, I guess, on a day to day, or even keeps you going long term?
Yeah, there's a couple things. One thing is, my personal health. So I'm actually fairly healthy, but the overall, I don't have anything majorly wrong, but I worked so hard. I paid no attention to physical fitness or eating right, and I was entertaining clients back when you could. And so it was, either meeting for breakfast, lunch, and dinners and traveling a lot and staying in hotels and eating crap and drinking wine and not hitting the gym. And so one thing I want to do kind of right now is really turn and spend some time. And, it's interesting, Peter, I did a trip around Alberta last month with my wife. We're trying to explore each province and take a few weeks to drive around the whole entire thing and see it. And so we spent a lot of time in the car, and I was telling her, and she's really good at fitness and eating healthy and all that, that I want to apply kind of a CEO's mentality to physical fitness and mental health. So thinking about HR, who do I recruit to help me do this? And, thinking about how do I market this and how do I, how do I write a business plan around being fit and healthy and enjoying it? Things like we were just talking about, what can I do to get healthy that I enjoy, that drives me, not that drains me, right? So that's one area. It's just getting healthy and mostly physically and then also mentally. Hiking is and backpacking is a big thing for me. Second thing is just never stop learning, right? I mean, I love to dive into areas where there's a lot of chaos and a lot of confusion, and I like to sort that out. And so in the early days, it was the web, right? No one knew how to build a website, and so you could charge $1 million for that. Now, cryptocurrency and blockchain, NFTs, these non-fungible tokens, is an area where a lot of people are, especially my age, are confused by it and have no idea how to get started. And I can't blame them, because I've spent a lot of time digging in. And when you get in on some of these exchanges, and if you want to buy anything outside of blockchain or Ethereum or, kind of major coins or tokens, it's hard, right? Because you have to go in and do it. And how do you do it where it's safe? Because there's no one to go, if you put in the wrong information, there's no bank or any company to go fix that for you. You lose your money. And then how do you keep it safe? Like putting it on a physical wallet, a digital wallet, and keeping your code. So there's a lot that's confusing out there for people. And then also kind of understanding that this is way bigger than currency, a digital currency. Looking at the opportunities in blockchain. I have a friend that he's into digesters. So you plug them into the back of a restaurant, you throw the waste in there, and then it turns it into organic fertilizer. And then the restaurant gets carbon credits for it. Well, it turns out that there's, a blockchain for carbon credits, which is, an area ripe for fraud and all kinds of issues. So how can you put in IoT sensors into his device and then connect that to that blockchain for carbon credits that allow the farmer to know that that's true organic fertilizer that's coming out, and that the restaurant actually can prove that they did their work and they get those carbon credits to offset, some of their costs. So, you think about farmer restaurants, it could be someone like Marriott, who's got restaurants in other hotels, or they do catering and cafeteria work for corporations. So there's a lot of, there's all kinds of amazing opportunities out there, and there's a lot of confusion and a lot of chaos. So I want to help people just kind of sort that out and figure out how to do it safely and securely.
Yeah. So what's maybe talk about your plan? What is that? Is that educating them somehow or coaching?
Yeah, I'm still learning. I'm thinking about, my current path is kind of twofold. One is to help corporations. If a corporation needs, how are we going to do this, right? For example, around ERP systems, SAP or Microsoft Dynamics, or if you're going to take payments, how do you take cryptocurrency? How do you process that, right? And then how do you tie that into kind of some stable coin so that you can make sure that there's, there's not a wide swing in the value. So kind of that's one path. The other path is just helping people, give them kind of sit down with them and do maybe like a 3-hour masterclass about here's the history of currency and fiat and money, and how that kind of evolved and where it's going to in terms of being able to interact without a bank. And then how do you invest in it? And how do you invest in it in a safe manner so that you don't lose your keys and so that no one hacks you and that you're putting your money into decent investments, in cryptocurrency? Because there's a lot of scams out there. There's the pump and dump. There's people that are putting tokens out there and then they collect the money and they disappear. So you've got to be really smart about what you're going to put your money into and what you're going to do with it. And I'm not day trading or anything like that, just simply
Right.
long-term
So
investments.
why should people look at crypto, or why are you looking at it? And why do you feel a need to teach others about it?
Yeah, and I think that you only should, first of all, put enough in that doesn't put your money at risk or your retirement at risk. So just invest what you can afford to lose. But I think I took a look. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and I was showing him, if you put $1,000 into gold in 2015, in 2021, that'd be worth $1,750. You would have made $750 on gold. If you had put $1,000 in Bitcoin in 2015, that'd be worth today, $57 million. It's a substantial difference. And you go, well, what if it went down by half? What if it went down by 90%? You'd still be far, far better off than gold. And if you look at what's happening today, unfortunately, with the economy and inflation, if you're in the stock market, you're going to have some real winners to keep up with inflation and just not only keep up with, so you're not just treading water, but that you're actually making money. So I think, and who knows where it's going to end up, but I think that cryptocurrencies, not all of them, some of them will end up being a much better hedge against inflation and against the stock market and growing your money. And plus it gives you complete control. I can't tell you how much control I feel when I don't have it with me, but I have a little digital wallet that holds all my cryptocurrency. So it's not sitting in a bank. It's not sitting at Coinbase or some exchange. It's sitting on my own wallet, and it's 100% safe and protected. And I can take it anywhere in the world, and I can turn it into cash whenever I need it to. That's an empowering feeling versus knowing that some government can come and take my money out of a bank or devalue your currency, or some hacker could break in and steal it. That's all terrifying. And having, knowing that I have this and I can always use it wherever I am is, actually helps you sleep better at night.
Right. And maybe you talked about, kind of going in, your eyes wide open into this, knowing that there are different things that if you don't do your research, you could get caught into it. What's regulation going to bring to all this?
Well, I'm hoping for regulation. I don't want to see what's happening to like China. China, of course, wants ultimate control. India now is looking at, shutting down a lot of independent cryptocurrency. But what governments want is they want control, and they want to be able to tax, and they want to be able to track, and they want to be able to do all those things. So they're introducing their own digital currencies. I mean, the U.S. government's working with MIT and developing a digital currency. I think is it the head of the Treasury or one of those guys? He taught a class on blockchain at MIT. I mean, they get it, right? So they're going to be introducing their own thing, but someone has to regulate the exchanges and make sure that they just don't disappear overnight. And you look at for example, Tether. Tether is a stable coin, but it's not audited and it's not regulated. And so if there's a run on Tether, you could lose your money. Whereas there's a competitor called TrueUSD. They're audited, they're regulated. For every dollar of TrueUSD, there's $1 in the bank, and it's been audited. That makes you feel better. And so, people will be more comfortable. I also don't like things like what Elon Musk is doing, where he goes out and buys a bunch of Dogecoin, which is a meme stock. It's like GameStop. It has, at that point, it had zero value whatsoever really in doing anything. It was just a joke, right? And they introduced it as a joke. And so he buys a bunch of it, and then he pumps it up over Twitter with all his fans, it goes up, and then he sells and makes $1 billion off of it. That's a pump and dump. Should be completely illegal. It isn't today in cryptocurrency, but you shouldn't be able to do that. You couldn't do that in the stock market. So, that's why I think a little bit of regulation is going to be helpful.
How do you, you're pretty hands-on with your learning, starting from, websites and all that now into crypto. How do you, what kind of resources do you, I guess resources are a lot different now than they were then, but what are you using to learn more about how to become more savvy with crypto in general?
Yeah, there's a ton of misinformation out there, and a lot of it's on YouTube, unfortunately. These are people that are trying to, pump up certain tokens and certain, because they're in it, right? So you kind of have to go to either Twitter, or you have to read the white papers that are available on the crypto sites. Almost every one of them has a great white paper, and then you have to dive deeper into some of the better, resources. And so I have done a lot of YouTube, but I definitely go deeper into their website and whichever currency it is or whatever things they're promoting. And I'll give you a quick example, like things I get excited about. Is an organization called Theta, and what Theta is doing is they've built kind of a decentralized application around video streaming. Because when you think about 82, look what we're doing right now. We're doing live video on the internet. Something like 78% of all internet traffic is video. And pretty soon we're going from 4K to 8K to virtual reality to 360 immersion, and more videos coming up, which means more and more bandwidth. So what Theta is doing is they're incenting people like me. And so I have two computers that are staking Theta. One's an edge server and one's a guardian server. One's helping them with looking for hackers. The other one is serving up video content. So if my neighbor wants video, then my computer will help supplement, YouTube or whoever it is, or MGM or Sony or Google, and then I get paid in Theta tokens or T-Fuel. So there's a whole bunch of different ways to make money. And then, so what they're doing is it's kind of, what we're seeing is that we're moving from like an Uber and Airbnb, which is they call the gig economy, to a token economy. So people are starting to make money by using your computers and your bandwidth. I'll give you another example, Helium. What they do is you plug in a device, put it in your window, and it broadcasts out an RF band over 3 to 5 miles. And then all the sensors, like Internet of Things, like there's sensors in your dishwasher, pacemakers, medical devices, your exercise bicycle, they're communicating back with their manufacturer like, hey, I need support or service, or I'm running fine. All that data of Internet of Things has to go somewhere. Helium is building a network, decentralized network of people like me. You put this in your window, and you can make $350, $400 a month just by letting this run. So, and then it's in Helium crypto, and then Helium crypto is going up. So not only making the tokens, but you're getting increased value of the tokens over time. Those are the kind of things that are pretty exciting, those kind of projects.
That's neat. It's interesting to hear. I know we're really talking is not like giving advice to anybody per se, but just understanding that there's definitely more opportunities out there than just traditionally, like we talked about, trading equities on the stock market or different things. There's staking and all kinds of different mining.
And there's a whole NFT thing. We were talking about that earlier.
Right. Maybe talk about what you're doing with that. And, maybe you went kind of more technical than I was ready for, but maybe talk about it and maybe we can kind of flesh.
You bet. So NFTs, non-fungible are tokens, non-fungible tokens. They're kind of hard to get your head around, and it takes usually when I talk to people, it takes a couple times to really figure it out. But just think of like the Mona Lisa, right? There's only one Mona Lisa. It's hanging on the wall. It's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe priceless. But if he was alive today and he said, screw the canvas and the paint, I'm going to paint this on my iPad, and then he had a digital version of that, well, every version of that is identical. Like if you had a copy, it'd be 100% identical to the one he painted on his iPad. So there's got to be a way to mark that as the original. That's the one and only. That's the first. That's it. And so what you would do is you'd assign a non-fungible token, an NFT to it, which logs it in the blockchain that says this is the original. Now you can do that to more than art. You can do it to music. You can do it to video. You got NBA players that are, it's called Top Shot. They're putting NFTs on their Top Shots, and they're starting to market these. And you got Snoop Dogg in this. You got all kinds of people. Katy Perry. They're all doing NFTs now. And there's like the eBays of NFTs up there. There's Rarible. There's OpenSea. And so just as kind of a way for me to learn, I've been through my dog as a mouthpiece. I've been publishing, 3 memes a day. We call it Dog Tells Dad Jokes. They're all like dad jokes, and some are appropriate, some are inappropriate, some are political, some are non-political. But anyways, he's been doing it for 5 years. So we collected all those and put them up on OpenSea to see how this would work. And here's the cool thing about cryptocurrency is that Bitcoin can't do this, but Ethereum and others can. If you sell an NFT using an ETH or Ethereum or Polygon or whatever, blockchain or crypto you'd use, you can attach a smart contract to it. What that means is that, for example, I can say I want it to, every time this sells forevermore in the future, I want it to pay me a 10% royalty into my crypto wallet. So let's say that one of my memes sell for $50, and then next year it sells for $50,000. Then 10% automatically, because the smart contract in the Ethereum blockchain will automatically come into my wallet. And so you can build things using smart contracts with ETH. And we're kind of off NFTs right now, but you can use this to be smart money, right? So let's say, for example, you have an apartment building and you collect your rent through ETH. Well, if you don't pay the rent, the computer knows that, and it can lock the doors. If you have one of those automated door locks on there, like a Stanley, one of those things, you can hook that up to the network and have them just lock the tenant out until he pays his ETH. So, and that might not be a nice thing to do, but it's an example of what you can do with smart contracts and ETH. So back to NFTs, I don't totally get why people are buying some of these things, because there's the top piece went for $69 million. And there's these apes that belong to a yacht club. So, a virtual yacht club. And these apes are going for like millions of dollars. And they're just icons. So I don't totally get the whole thing, but I absolutely get that you need to mark originals, and there should be value for that.
Yeah, no, I think it's as an artist, or you talked about it in real estate or whatever it is. Like I think it's definitely a good, interesting way to look at things. We'll see how things play out, but as an artist or musician or something like that, to be able to be paid every time that item is sold over and over and over again, then you're truly getting, I guess, true value out of it. If Mona Lisa was sold multiple times, you get 10% over and over. That's
well, let me clarify that. So, the NFT is, so non-fungible token means that it's
right.
Unique, right?
Right.
So if you're an artist, for example,
mm-hmm.
You could theoretically, say I'm gonna NFT 10 of these, the same one 10 times, which would bring down its value because it's no longer unique.
But say if it was the one, it was just, say they just made one, but it got resold.
That's right.
Many times over.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You should be able to make money on that, which artists really can't do today, or track that. That's hard to do, especially around royalties. But yeah, they're doing this around everything you can imagine. And NFTs can go far beyond that. So, for example, like in the whole world of esports, where they're watching people play games, and let's say that you're driving you're in your virtual car, race car, and you're driving the track at Monte Carlo. Well, I can buy virtual real estate on that track, and you would know it's mine because I have an NFT assigning it to me. And now that I own that virtual real estate, I can also participate in the winnings, of, people racing on it. And I can start selling virtual advertising every time you come around my track, my
Wow.
piece of track. And then of course you use NFTs to prove that, this is unique. Now NFTs go far beyond that too. And so does blockchain, because think about using it for house titles. I mean, the US, here in Canada, it's a little bit simpler, but in the US, when you buy a property, you have to like hire a company to do a background check on the title, and they won't even guarantee it, but they'll say likely, thanks for the $1,000, your title is clear to that house, right? There's no encumbrances, no one's claiming on it. Well, with blockchain, we can replace all that. I can prove that this title is mine and it's in the blockchain, and everyone can go take a look at it, right? And I don't need some title company to sell me some crappy insurance to tell me it's likely mine. Or think about dogs for the whole AKC and proving dog breeds. Why not have a blockchain around that where we can prove your dog's heritage and its pedigree? I mean, it's just kind of endless of what NFTs and blockchain can do for you. Cryptocurrency, cool. Blockchain, super cool.
Yeah, there's definitely more to come in the coming years as more businesses adapt to the technology.
Yeah, and you see guys like Jamie Dimon from the JP Morgan, right? He's poo-pooing cryptocurrency and blockchain, or not blockchain, but cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Why is he doing that? Well, because he runs the world's freaking largest bank. And guess what? When I need to send you some Bitcoin or some ETH, I don't need a stinking bank. I send it directly to you, and it gets recorded on the blockchain. Small transaction comes out for the fee of doing it, but no bank is involved. So that's why he doesn't want this.
Right.
Bad for his business.
Yeah, definitely. It not say it cuts out the middleman, but definitely is more efficient for all. So it's good to see. So in 2022, what's your plan? And maybe as we go into that, maybe tell people how they can get in touch with you.
Oh, thanks, Peter. Yeah, so my plan is really just to relax a little more. I mean, I've been working my entire life, so it's going to be kind of good to have that official retirement. Do a little bit of traveling if the borders open up. I've had a couple trips canceled. And then really just kind of work one-on-one with either people or businesses around kind of getting to learn and understand and feel, really feel what their plan should be for the crypto world. And so, if you want to get a hold of me, it's really easy. My name is Dan Fine, Fine. And people think, oh, I've heard of you. That's because you say, how you doing? Damn fine. But it's Dan Fine. And my email address is dan at fine.com, FINE.com.
Awesome.
Pretty easy.
Well, Dan, thank you for sharing your story, and we're interested to hear more. I'm sure we'll see more in the coming year in terms of where you're going with on the crypto side of things. So yeah, appreciate it.
Hey, Peter, thanks.